Welcome. My name is Corey. This is Yin Yoga. And if you're unfamiliar with Yin practice, you want to focus a little bit more on your connective tissue, your fascia, and your ligaments. And if you're not familiar with doing that, the way we do that in Yin is by holding postures for much longer than your typical vinyasa class. So we'll be holding poses today anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Means that we won't be doing as many yoga shapes, as many poses, as many asanas as you might be used to in your typical yoga class, but rather using each pose to explore your body and go just a little bit deeper. So if you're all set up, go ahead and grab either your block or your pillow or your blanket. And we're going to begin today in a supported saddle. And if you're familiar with Virasana or Hero's Pose in Vinyasa class, it's kind of like that. You want to bring your knees together to touch and untuck your feet, separate your heels real wide. Now the reason you want to use a prop is because if you're like most people, then this is not super comfortable to get into at first. It might take some time to get your hips to sit down between your heels, as it's a big stretch in your shins and your ankles and the tops of your feet. It's something that you don't normally do, so your body is just not used to it. As we come into every pose, that's going to kind of be the case. You're going to come up to a level of discomfort. And as long as that's not pain, that's okay. You want to feel something, right? You want to come up to that edge. You want to find that sensation and then hold onto it. Now, as we flow through and as you hold each pose, if the edge recedes and you feel like you can go a little bit deeper, then by all means go a little bit deeper. So sit up nice and tall here. Find whatever setting is right for you, either on your block or on your pillow. And if this is super uncomfortable and you just can't stand it, then you can sit on your shins or just sit in a cross-legged position. Lay your hands in your lap with your palms facing upwards and bring your thumbs together to touch. This is a meditative mudra. So I'm going to start to draw inwards with this meditative hand gesture. Sit up tall and close your eyes down. Imagine stacking the crown of your head over your shoulders and your shoulders over your hips. And then just to reset our breath, we'll take a big inhale through our nose. And then an open mouth exhale. Do that again, breathe in deep. And then open mouth exhale, release. And let your breathing rhythm start to fall into its own natural, steady pace. So you're not controlling your breath, you're not trying to change it, but you are becoming more aware of it. And whatever it took to get up this morning, to roll out of bed, or whatever fitness you've already gotten in this morning, maybe you were rushing to make it to this virtual class and get your mat and your space set up. Let all that fade into the background. Come here to your yoga mat and find stillness. As we all find ourselves quarantined and at home, spending time social distancing in this COVID-19 epidemic, we might find ourselves lacking motivation, or lacking energy. We also might find that we feel like we have the need to move and rush around or jump into all the live fitness classes that are so popular now online. And that's great. But yoga also teaches us that you can find and cultivate energy by bringing more mindfulness and more awareness to your breath and your body. So if you have an intention to set for your practice today, then go ahead and set that now. And if you would like to share my intention, it's to bring more awareness to your mind and to your body. See if you can cultivate energy from within without moving, but rather by staying still and just becoming more aware. Keep your breathing rhythm steady, natural, and normal, and engaged as if you're reading a really good book. On your next inhale, shift forwards and lift your hips up off of your prop if you're on a prop. Then step your right foot up outside of your right hand. And then gently bring your left foot outside of your left hand and sit your hips back down low. And if you need to, you can come back down onto your prop, but I encourage you to try not to. Try to let your hips hover and just come into a squat. You can bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, that's a prayer grip. Angel Mudra, yeah. And push your triceps against your inner thighs, but just gently, not jacking your hips open with the force of your arms or your upper body strength. Rather just settling in here. And draw your shoulders back, find length in your spine, and then you can keep your hands here in your Anjali Mudra, or release your arms down to the floor. If it feels good to keep your chin lifted, then totally do that. Or bring your chin to your chest and just let your head hang heavy. The focus is a little bit more on your legs and your hips. So whatever is right in your upper body. And third variation, if you would like to take your hands and interlace them up behind your head, then that's cool too. It's going to put a little bit more stretch on the back of your neck and your cervical spine. And take what's right for you and try to work your way into the pose at the very beginning so you're not jumping into the most perfect expression. You're not going to the deepest place just yet. You're rather playing and experimenting with your edges. As you come into every pose, you want to try to get the fidgets out early. You want to stay still for as long as possible. So, throughout class, you might see me glance at my watch or come out of the pose to talk at the screen or so on and so forth. But I encourage you to stay in your pose for as long as possible. Stay still. And only go deeper if your body allows you, and if that's what your body is asking for. As you stay here in your squat, notice all the sensations that are coming up in your body. And imagine these sensations, these feelings like energy. Imagine that you can actually visualize energy flowing through your body as if you could see your breath moving through your body. Try to be a silent observer of what's happening from within, following this energy flow. And noticing any areas where it might get stuck, where there's any extra tension or tightness, And see if you can use your breath to smooth those areas out. And take about 3 more breaths here. And then after your third breath, bring your hands back behind you. And you might want to move any prop that's back there out of the way. So you can sit down on your mat. And send your legs out in front of you very, very slowly. Every time we transition from one pose to the next, you want to move real slow. So as we come into our connective tissue and our fascia, while we're stretching these ligaments, these joints, these tissue has a really good memory. And so when it finds a position, it tends to stay there. And it can be a little bit tricky getting out of each pose. So move real slow. And with your legs out in front of you, you might want to take your rolled up blanket and slide it underneath your knees. You can also sit on something if you like, but I encourage coming down so that your knees can come up from the floor a little bit. And this is setting up your caterpillar. In Vinyasa, it's seated forward fold, or Paschimottanasana. So find length, just like you do in Vinyasa. Breathe in and sit up tall. Imagine your spine getting just a little bit more vertical. And then on your exhale, start to hinge forwards from your hips and fold over your legs. Now, if you have another prop and you want to bring your forehead down on top of something, then you can place a block on top of your thighs. But I encourage you to do that only if you have something underneath your knees. Otherwise, you're going to be pushing your legs down with the force of your upper body, and that's causing your knees to bend in the direct opposite way that they were meant to, so let's not do that. So only if you have something underneath your legs, or if you're super flexible. Come on down, and you don't have to bring your forehead down on top of anything, so if it just hangs out in space, that's totally cool. Once your back starts to round, go ahead and let it round. And so in Vinyasa, we tend to keep our spine straight because we're engaging our core in so many of the postures that we get into. But in Yin, you want to try to disengage your muscles as much as possible. So try to let go. Resist the urge to pull yourself down using your arms. It doesn't matter how far your body gets down. It doesn't matter how deep into your fold you get. There is no end goal. There's no specific outcome. It's an exploration, it's a journey. Let your chest heavy and just allow yourself to feel the weight of gravity pulling you down over your legs. Now, as you hold in this fold, you might feel your edge recede, and what I mean by that is you might feel like you can get deeper into the fold. You might feel yourself just naturally getting closer and closer to your legs. And if you're using a prop underneath your forehead, then go ahead and maybe lower it down to a smaller setting, or remove it altogether. If your body goes that far and if that feels right for you. But coming back to our intention, see if you can become so mindful, so aware of your body and your breath, that you can feel every change in your body with every breath you take. Whatever that means for you, maybe it's getting deeper into your fold. Maybe the passive stretch in your hamstrings starts to get a little bit easier and your legs feel a little bit looser. Or maybe it's just that your breath smooths out. Take about 3 more breaths here. And on your next inhale, slowly rise up out of your pose, taking your time again, moving very, very slow. Take the block off of your legs if you happen to have one up there. And slide the bolster out towards your right side. And place it in line with your right hip. Bring your right heel towards your left thigh. And slowly bring your left heel towards your left butt cheek. This is setting up your deer pose. And this is appropriate because as we're all inside, the deer are probably outside running all over the streets and gallivanting through our cities. So why not be a deer for the day? All right, so sit up nice and tall. Lengthen out again. And again, you want to fidget as much as you can in the very beginning so that you don't have to once you settle into your pose. And take a breath in. And then on your exhale, rotate towards your right side. Just turn to the right. Walk your hands back, but you're not so much pushing on your hands to deepen your twist. And if you don't twist very much, that's totally cool. Especially if it causes any tension in your shoulders. So you want to relax your shoulders as you rotate. And just twist from your midsection, from your core. It's good for your digestive system. All those internal organs. Now, once you've twisted, you're welcome to stay here if you like. If you want to go a little bit further, you've got your bolster down here. Walk your hands on either side of your bolster and fold your body down on top of it. Now, this is great if you have a really thick blanket, big fat bolster. If you don't and you have multiple props, then you can go ahead and stack them up and fold yourself down over that. That will feel really, really juicy. This is one of my favorite poses. Once you come down, if you come down, you can lay your forehead down, you can lay your chin down. If you lay one cheek down, I'll let you know when to switch sides. So take what's right for you. And if you fold, see if you can drop your left shoulder just a little bit. Again, not forcing anything in your body. And just trying to square yourself over the landing strip of your bolster. If you folded down and you laid one cheek on your bolster, then go ahead and switch sides. Just be mindful of anything that comes up in your lower back as you do. Right, even just rotating your head is gonna change how things feel down here. Your body is one long chain. You adjust one link in the chain and it adjusts the entire thing. This is one of the beautiful things about the yoga practice. Whatever format, whatever kind of yoga it happens to be, bringing more mindfulness, more awareness into all of these various links in your chain makes you more aware, more mindful of the whole. Come back to your breathing. On your next inhale, slowly come up if you folded down. If you stayed in your twist, come back to center. Cool. So, from here, you're going to want to move your props out of the way, just keeping them close by. You're going to switch your legs up. But your left knee is going to bend. You're going to rotate towards your left leg. So your left knee is going to be bent in front. And you're going to square yourself off, setting your right leg back behind you. You're setting up your swan pose on the other side. Now, if this is uncomfortable on your left knee in any way, then you might want to take a supine figure 4. In which case, lie down on your back. Stack your left ankle over your right knee, and then pull your right knee a little closer. Okay, if you're coming into your swan pose, it's half pigeon in vinyasa flow. So, send your right leg out long behind you, left leg stays in front. I highly encourage you to bring a prop underneath your hips. If you have 2 blocks, you can place one underneath your right and your left. If you have a big pillow, it should support both. Your bolster will also work as well. However, if you would rather, you can take your bolster to the middle of your mat. And after finding a proud swan, lifting your chest up, you can fold down over your bolster. And again, this will feel rather juicy. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first though. Again, coming up to that edge of sensation, that level of discomfort where you're feeling something, not pain. But a sensation that might be unfamiliar or a little bit different. And take your time coming down. If you don't fold all the way down, if your legs are really tight, especially if your left IT band is really tight. I've actually been having some issues with my own lately, so this is very hard for me to get into. It takes a lot of time. So your IT bands run from your hips at the greater truncantor all the way down to the outside of your knee, and they're the greatest, biggest, thickest stretch of fascia throughout your body. And it is incredibly hard to stretch out your IT bands. It's the source of a lot of knee pain. It Can also cause a lot of issues in your hips, in your glutes. And so we're working on stretching that out. As you can imagine, as it is the longest, biggest piece of fascia in your body, it takes a long time, a long hold to really start to work it out. Runners, cyclists out there, you'll be familiar with foam rolling your IT bands. You might even be familiar with having issues with them getting too tight. Stay here and continue to breathe. And see if you can actually feel the pose transform, the sensations change through your body the longer you hold it. Where do your sensations move? How do they fluctuate? Maybe notice how that influences what's happening in your mind and in your heart. How does it make you feel? Where does it take your thoughts? Take about 3 more breaths here. And then your next inhale, walk your hands up, slowly coming out of your pose. Very, very slowly. And back to the front. If you're sitting on something, you can slide that out, or you can keep it there if it feels really good. You're gonna send your left leg out in front of you. And take your right leg and stack it up over your left. So you're bringing your right knee on top of your left knee. This is half shoelace, half Gomukhasana, or cow face pose. And then just like in our caterpillar, you can slide your rolled up blanket underneath your left knee. That'll help keep your knee from bending in the wrong way. And also, just like our caterpillar, we're going to fold forward. So find length first, breathe in, and then start your fold. And just as before, once your back starts to round, you can allow it to round, but try to keep the length for as long as you can until the natural curvature in your spine starts to engage. And this helps you get into a deeper fold at the start, keeping that length. Right? If your forehead doesn't make it all the way down to your right knee, Then you can use your block again. Only if you have a blanket or something underneath your left knee. If you don't have as many props, you can stack your fists up on top of your knee and bring your forehead down on that. And settle in. Let this be a nice little counter stretch for the back of your left leg and your left knee, your left hamstrings after your swan pose. This is a rather interesting pose as it is actually a hip opener even though your legs are adducted. It's counterintuitive, but can you be that aware to feel that opening in your hips, even with your legs pulling, squeezing in towards one another? Resist any urge to fidget or move. Only shifting in your pose if you start to go deeper. Take about 3 more breaths here. And as you inhale, make your way back up, slowly coming out of your fold. All right, so onto the other side. Get your props situated or out of the way. First, take your right leg off of your left, and then slide your bolster out. Bend your left knee, bring your left heel towards your right thigh this time, and your left or right heel towards your right glute. I try not to look at the screen too much when I'm doing this because everything's reversed and it just makes lefts and rights all the more hard. All right, bring your bolster in line with your left hip to your left side. And we'll start with our deer pose on the other side. Now, this might feel way, way different. You've done a whole lot more on this other side already. And sit up nice and tall, breathe in. And then exhale as you twist and rotate to your left side. Gently walking your hands over, gently pulling your left shoulder back. Maybe you twist a little bit further, or maybe you can't twist quite as much. Before you start to fold, notice any sensations you might be feeling around your sacrum. Maybe even in your piriformis if you're twisting deep enough, in your right butt cheek. And you're welcome to stay lifted if you like, if you want to go a little bit deeper, or if you're ready to explore a little further. Walk your hands on either side of your bolster. And again, remember you can always stack up your props. As you fold your upper body down to your left. And again, chin can come down, you can bring your forehead down, or if you lay one cheek down, I'll let you know when to switch sides. If you laid one cheek down, go ahead and switch. Again, pay attention to your lower back. Keep your eyes closed. Notice and feel what you feel. See if you can feel your breath moving, winding its way through all the various places in your body, all the twisting, all the things that are happening here. Visualizing your breath, visualizing the energy that flows through your body. Take about 3 more breaths. Then your next inhale, walk yourself up. If you folded down. If you stayed lifted, then turn back to the front. Either way, turn back to the front. All right. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, switching legs. So bend your right knee, turn to your right, and send your left leg back. Move your props. So you can set up your swan on this side. One side is definitely gonna feel different than the other. Very slowly send your left leg back, wiggling your knee on your mat, gently as you can, pointing your toes behind you, and use any props underneath your hips that you need. Remember that supine figure four is always an option if you would rather take that. Get yourself situated. Find that spot where your right hip and your left thigh land on your prop or just on your mat if you're flexible enough. This pose is not easy for everyone. For some people, it's incredibly hard, and as it does work a lot in your hips, it can stir up a lot of emotions. Really bring a little bit more awareness to your emotional backdrop. Our hips are where we tend to shove all of our stress, all of our tension. As we start to work into our hips and as we start to loosen them, it can really stir up those feelings. It's a mind-body connection that we're all aware of as yogis. Now you can stay lifted, maybe walk your hands back and find your proud swan. And when you're ready, start to fold forwards and come on down. Take your time easing into it, coming only as far as your body allows, and then going further if your body lets you go further. If you fold down onto your bolster and lay one cheek down, I'll let you know when to switch sides. Otherwise, you can bring your chin or your forehead down. You can also lay your forehead down on top of your hands folded out in front of you. It can be kind of a nice option if rotating your neck and your head just doesn't feel good in some way or another. Fold it down, stay in your pose. I'm going to lift up so you can hear the sound of my voice a little bit better. When you think of the mind-body connection that we talk so much about in yoga practice, that we feel so much in our yoga practice, it's not so hard to imagine. If you see somebody walking down the street and their shoulders are hunched and their head is tilted down, maybe they're dragging their feet, you might guess that they're down about something, maybe they're depressed or maybe even just lost in thought. If somebody walks with their chest and chin lifted, standing up tall, walking fast, you might guess that they're confident. We see these emotions, we see these feelings through people's body language all the time. And so it's not hard to imagine when you come into your yoga practice and start working with your body, that it has an impact on your mind. And if you think of the reverse of that, how you can affect your body with your mind, it's not too hard to imagine how you can actually cultivate energy through more mindfulness, through more awareness. If you laid one cheek down on your bolster, then switch sides now. if you can visualize energy moving through your body, in your mind's eye, you imagine it actually turning into real physical energy. About 30 more seconds here, wherever you're at. Come back to your breath. And then let your inhale lift you up. More your breath than the strength of your arms or your hands. And turn rotating to the front. And you can slide any props out from underneath your hips unless you like them there. This time, gently and slowly send your right leg out in front of you. And take your left leg over your right. And don't forget to slide your bolster or your rolled up blanket underneath your right knee. Stack your left knee on top. Set up your half shoelace on this side. It might take some fidgeting to get into, so go ahead and fidget. Do what you need to do to find that spot, find that sensation, that kind of Goldilocks part of the pose where it feels just right. And you know that you can stay and hold for a long time. Take a breath in, sit up tall, find your length. And then exhale as you fold. And gently bring your forehead down to your left knee. If it doesn't connect, don't forget, you can use a prop. Again, as long as you have something underneath your right knee. Or use your fists and stack them up on top of one another. One or the other, whichever works for you. Relax your arms and relax your shoulders. Try to notice if you're holding on to any tension up here. If you're looking at the screen and my dog's about to make an appearance as she passes through, don't mind her. She's being very cautious. Silly dog. Thanks, Nellie. That was Nellie, by the way. You might feel the stretch in the outer ligaments of your right knee, your LCL, your ACL, MCL, lots of collateral ligaments down there. Or you might feel it high in your hamstrings where they connect to your glutes, way up at the top and at the base of your right butt cheek. The external rotation of your hips with your legs adducted. So many names for all of these things. But really, how do you feel? And maybe as your edge recedes, you can come down to one fist instead of two. Lower your block down to a smaller setting. Or remove the props altogether and let your body just hang out over your legs. There's really no need to bring your head down on top of anything. You don't necessarily need the support unless you feel like you have to. You'll notice today we've worked on so much of our lower half. In our yin practice, again, as we get into our ligaments and our connective tissue and our fascia, most of those joints in the lower half of our body are weight bearing and have or bear the most stress, so they need the most amount of work. And take about 3 more breaths here. And then slowly on your next inhale, rise up. Gently take your left leg off of your right. And remove your bolster or any prop underneath your right knee. Bring your hands back behind you and then place your feet down on the floor. And then see if you can walk your hands a little further back. Just open your chest up towards the ceiling. Just kind of a quick counter stretch. Maybe sway your knees side to side, windshield wiper. You've done a lot with your legs. So loosen them up. And then when you're ready, lie down on your mat. Take any props out of the way. And keep your pillow or your bolster nearby as you come down onto your back. Bend your knees, bring your heels towards your glutes. And then drape your legs over to the left side. If you want, you can bring your knees down on top of your pillow or your rolled up blanket or a block. Arms out to a T, gaze over your right shoulder. Gentle supine twist. And if there's a different variation of your supine twist that you like, maybe it's with bound legs. If that's the case, go ahead and do that. If you want to give it a try, wrap your right leg over your left leg, almost like eagle legs. And keep your gaze over your right shoulder. And just breathe. next inhale, bring your knees back up to center. And switch sides. If you bound your legs, then take your left leg over your right. If you brought your knees down to your pillow or your bolster, then you can do that on this side as well. Bring your gaze over your left shoulder so that your left shoulder anchors down. And inhale, come back to center. Separate your legs if you bound them, and go ahead and give yourself a tight squeeze. Wrap your arms around your shins. Lift your forehead up to meet your knees. And just give yourself a giant hug because it feels really good to do. And then whenever you're ready, you can exhale and find your final Shavasana, whatever shape, whatever form that takes, whatever lets you relax and ease and let go the most. Let your feet sway out to the sides, relax your arms, close your eyes down and relax your breath. Whatever final resting posture you take. Allow it to bring you to the greatest level of stillness. As always, yogis, this is your practice. You are in your space. And if you would prefer to remain in your Shavasana, take your time. And I encourage you to do so, and I hope that you do. Please enjoy this moment of stillness that you definitely deserve. In the meantime, it's time for me to sign off, so if you would like to do so along with me, then maybe start to wiggle your fingers and your toes as you draw sensation back into your body. With your heightened awareness and mindfulness, see if you can feel the energy start to lift you up. Making your way to an easy seated pose in whatever way makes sense for you. Once you do arrive, crisscross your legs and sit up tall with your eyes closed down. Inhale your arms up overhead. And exhale, draw your hands down to heart center. We'll seal our practice joining in the sound of Om. First we'll inhale and then exhale, and then inhale to Om. Take a deep breath in first, and exhale to release. Inhale to Om. Thank you so much, yogis, for joining me today for Yin Yoga. I hope you enjoyed class, and until next time, namaste. Thanks, guys.